Okay, this video will be talking about gearing. Seems to be a pretty common topic. People asking what to gear for this, what to gear for that. This is a way to try to tune for your gearing, tune for your car specifically, because every car is indeed different from another car in many different ways. You know, you could have worse bearings or less traction or any number of things. Different weights, obviously. So anyway, let's get into gearing and kind of a way that I think we can tune for it. I'm not sure if other people are doing this already or what, but something I had an epiphany on back in October when there was virtually no info out here about any of this stuff, it seemed like. But I think it's still useful. So we'll make a video. So first I'll just go over the Excel sheet we got up here, or Google sheet. So first field is going to be kV. Then we got voltage, RPM generated. This is our pinion, spur, transmission ratio, final drive ratio. This is the size of the tire. And that's our theoretical top mile per hour if we were driving a magic school bus with absolutely no resistance. So anyway, we'll jump back here. This is a kV, so 11,000 kV. I'm not sure exactly what people are generating with a bunch of timing and 3.5 turn motor, but we'll go with this for now, just for example. And these are all theoretical. You know, these aren't really probably realistic, or even so. Take everything with a grain of salt. But anyway, this is the method. So we've got, let's say we're turning 11,000 kV, and we've got our, let's say it's a timed out 3.5 turn motor, and we're rocking some pretty big gearing, 2284, which at this kV with this voltage, so we're saying we started at 8.4 and we sagged all the way down to the bottom, 6 volts, which is what you do not want to go past. You can puff your battery or maybe start a fire. So this is the very bottom, which is what you would probably see with this big of gearing on a 3.5. So 2284. So if we look at it, we sag down to 6 volts. We're generating 66k RPM. And we've got a theoretical max speed of 81 miles an hour. Okay, great. That sounds pretty good. That's not bad. But let's see what else we can do with it. So this is where we get into gearing and testing gearing and things. So let's, for instance, say we plug in a different pinion. This is generally what we would do. And we're at 22, so let's say we go down to 20. And at 6 volts, we would see, much less mile an hour, but we're gearing down, so that's going to be easier on the motor. So let's say we see the voltage, at 100% full throttle. Let's say it holds to 6. We'll do 6.3, which isn't bad. Okay, so 6.3. So now we're generating more RPM. That sounds good. And we're going down the line. But we see at the very end, our mile per hour, our top speed is actually lower. So even though we geared down, which is kind of what we're talking about here, is finding the gearing. So we geared down, we generated more RPM, we had a higher FDR, but we're still turning less RPM. So that was a bust. And this is kind of where you're going with the tuning, with the gearing. So let's say, for instance, we go down and we drop it to an 18. We're looking for that sweet spot. We're trying to find what we can get out of this thing. So let's just say that this just happens to be a miracle situation for what this car, what this motor, what everything wants. Let's say it jumps up, jumps huge. Let's say that voltage only sags to 7.6. So at this point, our voltage is up, our RPM is up, our gearing is down, but our mile per hour is up. So sometimes less is more, and that was the great epiphany I had back then. Less can be more. So by lowering the pinion down and making the motor, easier to run because it's got more torque with lower gearing, it's able to keep this voltage sag to a minimum, keep our RPM up, and with less gearing, we're actually going faster. Not to mention, when we've got this situation, we might even be able to add in more timing without, because now we've got all this voltage to play with. So we might even be able to throw in some more timing. So let's say our KV really jumps up to 12,000, but that makes our voltage sag to like 7.4. So now we can see that with adding more timing and getting more KV out of it, we've gone up, considerably. Now we've gone up 9 miles per hour from our original. So this is kind of what you're doing essentially when you're testing for gearing and trying to evaluate your RPMs, your voltage sag versus your FDR, and trying to find that good balance, that sweet spot of FDR and gearing. I'm sorry, you're trying to find the balance of voltage sag and FDR to see how much mile per hour you can get, or see if you can become faster by gearing up or down. Like in our first example, we actually ended up going slower, even though we geared down. But we kept gearing down just to see, and we're able to find in this theoretical example, scenario, whatever, that we were able to actually increase if we went down far enough. And again, this is going to matter big time on different batteries and things, and especially what motors you're running. Batteries being the big thing. You're kind of tuning for your battery the most, and that voltage sag number. So I hope this helps somebody out with trying to figure out the right gearing for your specific vehicle, to see what you can basically squeeze out of your battery voltage, what it can give your car, and try to up those speeds. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think.